Most people think that their brain just reacts to reality. But neuroscience shows that your brain is actually predicting reality and it uses your words to do it. I'm going to show you the research behind that claim and exactly how to use it in your life to create true mental health and well being. Let's start with the brain. For most of human history, we assumed it worked like a camera. Events happen, the brain receives them, and you react. But that's not what the neuroscience now shows. Neuroscientist Carl Friston has spent decades developing what researchers call predictive processing, a framework that has reshaped how we understand the brain. The core idea is your brain doesn't wait for reality to arrive. It generates a model, a running simulation of what is about to happen, and then checks incoming information against it. When new information matches, the prediction is confirmed. When it doesn't, the brain updates the model. This is called minimizing prediction error. Your brain is constantly running this process every single second. Now, here's where language comes in. Researchers who study both predictive processing and the neuroscience of emotion have found strong evidence that language is one of the primary formats your brain uses to store and retrieve the expectations it predicts from. In plain terms, that means that the words you repeat about yourself and the world become the prior beliefs your brain uses to filter reality. Say, I always fall apart enough times, and your brain doesn't file that as an opinion. It starts using it as a lens, amplifying moments that confirm it and filtering out moments that don't. This is one of the reasons confirmation bias is one of the most replicated findings in all of psychology. Your words don't just describe your reality, they help build it. Let's go a layer deeper because it's not just about what you believe, it's about what you feel. Lisa Feldman Barrett has spent her career studying how emotions actually work. And what she found challenges almost everything we assumed. For decades, the model was fear lives in the amygdala. Happiness has a universal signature. Sadness looks the same in every culture. But Barrett's research tells a different story. Emotions are not hardwired programs waiting to be triggered. They are constructed. Your brain takes raw physical sensation, a tight chest, a racing heart, shallow breath, and it reaches for a concept that makes sense of it. That concept is built from language. If the only word you have for that tight chest and those racing thoughts is anxiety, your brain constructs anxiety every time. But if you also have words like anticipation, readiness, I'm activated for this, your brain has more options. Same body, same sensations, different emotional experience. Barrett calls this emotional granularity, the precision with which you can distinguish and name your feelings. And her research has found that people that have higher emotional granularity, richer emotional vocabularies, visit doctors less frequently. They use medications less often and are hospitalized fewer days for illness. More words for feelings equals more capacity to navigate life. What's your emotional vocabulary like? When something feels bad, do you have one word for it or five? Then there's what Matthew Lieberman at UCLA found. He put participants in an fMRI scanner and showed them images of emotional faces: fear, anger, distress. Then he asked them to do one simple thing: name what they saw. Not analyze it, not reframe it, just label it. What happened in the brain was measurable. Amygdala activity decreased. Activity in the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, the region associated with processing emotions verbally, went up. One word caused physiological change in real time. Words don't just describe what you feel, they can actually regulate it, which means every time you reach for a vague word like I'm stressed or I'm fine, you're leaving your nervous system without the reference it needs to explain, create, and settle. Precision is not overthinking, it's the mechanism of regulation. So, what does this actually look like day to day? In therapeutic work, there are three language patterns I see most often in people who are stuck. I want you to notice if you recognize yourself in any of these. Pattern one, permanence language. I always do this. I never follow through. This never works for me. When you explain setbacks with permanent language, like I always fail at this versus I failed at this today, you're training your brain to treat the future as already decided. Always and never close time. They tell your predictive brain, don't bother looking for evidence. The verdict on this is clear. Be honest in the comments. Do you have a permanence word, always or never, that you know isn't quite true? Drop it below. You're not alone. Pattern two is identity language. I worked with a man once who came in and said, I'm just an anxious person. That's me. Notice what that language does. It takes a state, something that moves and changes, and it makes it a trait, something that I am. Research on self verification, developed by social psychologist William Swan, shows that people actively seek out information that confirms their stated identity, and they push back against information that contradicts it, even when the contradicting information is positive. If you want to learn more about how to build healthy identity, check out the last video in the description after you finish this video. Your brain protects a stated identity, even a painful one. So when you say, I'm an anxious person, you're not just describing yourself. You're asking your brain to defend that label against getting better. Pattern three is vague language. I feel bad. I'm stressed. Something's off. When your brain receives a signal that something is wrong, but can't locate what, it has to stay alert. Precise language gives the brain something specific to work with. I'm exhausted from a hard week is more useful to your brain than I feel off. Vague language keeps the alert unresolved. Precision begins to resolve it. Before I give you the tool, I need to be clear about something. This is not just positive thinking, not even close. Positive thinking says replace bad words with good words. That's not what the research supports necessarily. The goal is not a more rosy lens. The goal is a more accurate one. Here's why that matters. Research on depression, going back to Aaron Beck's foundational cognitive work in the 1960s and 70s, consistently shows that depressive thinking is not just negative, it's incomplete. It filters out evidence of competence. It discards evidence of resilience. It misses most of what's actually true. The most accurate story is almost always a more hopeful one. Not because life is easy, because the depressive lens was leaving too much out. Here are 4 tools, all grounded in research, all immediately usable starting today. Tool number 1, name it to tame it. When something feels hard, stop using umbrella words. Don't say, I'm stressed. Ask instead, what is this more specifically? Am I afraid I'll be rejected? Embarrassed? Disappointed in how I responded to my spouse? Worried about a specific work deadline? Push until you find the word that makes you say, yeah, that's it. That's what it is. Precision is how the nervous system begins to settle. Try it now. Think of something that's been bothering you this week. What's the more precise word for it? Drop it in the comments. Not stressed, go deeper. Tool 2, add a prefix. This is a technique from acceptance and commitment therapy developed by psychologist Stephen Hayes. It's called cognitive diffusion, and research on it shows it measurably reduces the emotional impact and believability of negative self-referential thoughts. Here's the problem it solves. When a thought is fused, I'm a failure, it doesn't feel like a sentence, it feels like a fact. The fix is deceptively simple. Add these words to the front of it. I notice that I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. Say it out loud. That prefix creates distance. You move from being the thought to watching the thought. The research on this found that cognitive diffusion significantly reduced the discomfort and believability of negative thoughts, outperforming other common coping mechanisms like just using distraction. You are not the thought. You are the one that notices it. Tool number 3, swap being for becoming. Every time you use I am for a negative state, you're signaling your brain, this is fixed. Protect this identity. But Carol Dweck's research, known as fixed versus growth mindset, shows that when we use identity or trait language about our abilities, we become more likely to avoid challenges, less resilient in difficulty, and more vulnerable to setbacks. Dweck's research has primarily looked at the power of process language in learning. The same principle applies directly to how we talk to ourselves. The practical shift is this: not I am anxious, but I'm feeling anxious right now. This is a state, not a sentence. Not I'm bad at this, but I haven't figured this out yet. Not I always do this, but I did this today. I've done it before, and I'm learning what I look like at my best. Process language opens the future. Identity language seals it shut. Which swap feels most relevant to you right now? Comment the I am statement that you're replacing and what you're replacing it with. Watch how different that feels even as you type it. Tool number 4 is the daily language audit. 3 minutes once a day, 3 questions. What word did I use most today to describe how I feel? What word did I use most to describe myself? And third, are those words accurate or just familiar? You're not looking for positive words, you're looking for true ones. Familiar language is not always accurate language. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a day is notice the difference between the two. We each have our own glasses. I can't see in these. You've built these lenses from the words you say and you hear, from what you said to yourself in the hardest moments of your life. And then you forgot that you were wearing them. The filter became reality. But here's what the research is telling us: the lens can change through language. The 4 tools: name it to tame it, add a prefix, swap being for becoming, and run the daily language audit. Not all 4 at once, not perfectly, just one today. Your words built the world you're living in. Choose them like it matters, because the proof says that it does. Last question before you go. What are some words that you frequently use to describe yourself that you're now questioning? Drop it in the comments. That moment of awareness, That's where it all begins. If this landed, subscribe. I have new videos every week on the psychology of living and relating well. See you in the next one.